Good afternoon, everyone. We are proud and honored to welcome you to this event marking the impact of the Aufzien Family Center to the prevention and treatment of Parkinson's disease, which was founded in 2019 thanks to the outstanding generosity of the Aufzien family. We are pleased to have you with us today and welcome Lisa and her husband Don. Leslie with her husband Peter, and their daughter Rachel, and we extend our greetings to the rest of the family abroad, Noni, Jonathan, Mary, and their families. To officially open this event, I'd like to invite Professor Milet Shamir, Vice President for International Academic Collaborations at the Tel Aviv University.
Thank you so much. Dear Aufzien family, Lisa and Don, Leslie, Peter, our very own Rachel, who's our friend from AFTAU. Jonathan and Mary, I understand, are joining us on Zoom, so welcome to them as well. Professor Giladi, Professor Avraham, Dan Pe'er, VP Research, dear guests and friends. It's a tremendous privilege for me to address you all at this special event, honoring the Aufzien family and their longstanding support for Tel Aviv University. And today we gather specifically to express our deep appreciation for the Aufzien Family Center for the Prevention and Treatment of Parkinson's disease, which was established almost 5 years ago, I think, through, as was already mentioned, an incredibly generous gift from the Aufzien family. And since its inception, this center, I think, has grown to become a global leader in Parkinson's disease research, and thanks go to the various scholars and researchers and leaders who've made that possible. We are all, I think, acutely aware of the immense importance of studying the prevention and treatment of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's. Many of us have personally witnessed the tragic impact of Parkinson's on our own family members, our friends, our acquaintances. The significance of this center really needs little explanation, as few other institutions on campus hold such potential for widespread impact and have the ability to improve the lives of millions around the world. Furthermore, I think that it is worth noting that the Aufzien Family Center for the Prevention and Treatment of Parkinson's disease aligns perfectly with Tel Aviv University's strategic goals. This center, first and foremost, fosters the highest quality of research by promoting collaborations between various entities on campus, so not only the Faculty of Medicine, but also the Sagol School of Neuroscience and the Blavatnik Center for Drug Discovery and other bodies on campus. Secondly, the center helps to advance the university's aim of forging strong connections with industry and with hospitals in Israel, facilitating the exchange of ideas among academics, physicians, paramedical teams, HMOs, and businesses. And lastly, the center significantly contributes to Tel Aviv University's efforts to expand its international ties and its global impact through hosting international symposia and conferences, through supporting international research endeavors, through encouraging student exchange. The center reinforces the university's significant global outreach. In short, the Aufzien Family Center for the Prevention and Treatment of Parkinson's disease is a source of great pride for Tel Aviv University. Not only does it produce essential research, but it also operates with really the utmost standards of collaboration that Tel Aviv University values so highly. And today we have a wonderful opportunity to express our gratitude to the Aufzien family for their generous support, which has made all this possible over the past almost 5 years. And I know that many of us in this room are very eager and very much are anticipating the future achievements that lie ahead for this center. I'd like to thank you all very much for coming today. Thank you.
you, Professor Shamir. I'm happy to invite next Professor Dan Pe'er, Vice President for Research and Development at Tel Aviv University. Professor Pe'er also serves on the Aufzien Center's Grants Committee.
Okay. So I'd like to thank, again, as Milech said, actually she expressed everything I wanted to say. So although we sit on the same floor, I need probably to coordinate better. So I'll talk a little bit about the science, okay? So as part of the distinguished committee with those two extremely impactful scientists, Professor Avraham and Professor Giladi, I've witnessed the level of grants and the scientific level. And I want to say I'm really astonished. I think that this center brings together outstanding scientists, as Millet pointed out, scientists from our university, scientists that are also, or physicians that are affiliated to the hospitals. And together, I think they're bringing something very unique, very innovative compared to other types of science that we have seen so far. So this event basically wants to really summarize almost 5 years of super interesting, stimulating academic research. We are also very much interested in translating the science into something more practical. And as we always say, this is the first step. The first 5 years are the first step, and we really hope that in time we will see more of this going into clinical translation. There is a variety of projects that this outstanding center have been funding over the past little more than 4 years, almost 5 years. And I think we'll witness some of the science today, and at least we'll talk a little bit about it. And I want to thank you again for your generous support, and hopefully we will see more in the next 5 years. We'll see more projects, more mature projects that will be able to really put an impact on this, on the disease and clinical impact. And we are very optimistic, and with your help as fantastic partner of Tel Aviv University, we hope you will continue supporting the project, the center, and of course the scientists and clinicians that this centers gather together. Thank you again for your support.
Thank you, Professor Pe'er. Our next speaker is Professor Karen Avraham, the founder and former co-director of the Aufzien Family Center for the Prevention and Treatment of Parkinson's disease, currently serving as the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here, really, and it's a culmination of so many years of hard work, but with an outlook for the future. So first of all, I want to thank you, the family, for coming. It is so much fun to see you again, and I know this is just the beginning of a wonderful week that we'll spend together, and you've now become members of our Board of Governors, and we're just so honored that at least 2 out of 4 of you could come, and we have the next generation, which is particularly important and really inspiring, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to continue a legacy here. And speaking of the legacy, that's the personal note that I want to give, is how this all started. It really started with Alan and Noni, and Alan Aufzien is the father who died very sadly a few years ago, and he was, some of you I know in the audience knew him, he was just an absolutely wonderful man. I was very lucky because I worked with him on several committees. Possibly my English, my ability to navigate some of the issues that the university was dealing with at different points. And so we had the opportunity to come together, and really what bonded us is that we were both from New Jersey. So he did call me the Jersey girl, and so we had a lot of fun jokes about that. But we also worked really well together, and it was a pleasure to see just how serious Alan was. He knew exactly how, the opinion that he wanted to give. He was very straight about it. He was very direct. And it was very clear that he was just also a warm and wonderful man. So a number of years ago, the family, or Alan and other members of the family, came and said, we would like to do something for Parkinson's disease. Where is the best work being done? Well, clearly that was easy, Tel Aviv University. And we joined forces with Professor Nir Giladi, who's sitting here, and I don't want him to blush too much, but he was then considered and continues to be really an absolute leader in the field from a worldwide perspective. And so we knew that this was really the time to bring us together and to try to incorporate the messages that both Millet and Dan talked about by taking the basic science that we have that's working so well on campus, as well as the translational and clinical work that's being done at the hospitals, and bring them together in the strongest way. And so while we had a few pockets of scientists, of laboratories working on Parkinson's disease before the center started, it was nothing like what it is today. Today we have many groups, about 25, 30 groups. We have large laboratories, we have grants and scholarships that have been able to support these synergistic groups to grow in a much bigger way than they could before. And this synergy is something that has really been remarkable in moving the needle. And you will see in the next hour, and when we continue in giving more detailed discussions with the family, that we have very much moved the needle. And we're doing so in a way that you'll be able to see that much of what is being discovered here in the basic science, moving toward the translation and the clinical work, is going to make a direct effect on the patients and on their families. So you'll hear about all those activities in the next hour or so. But it's so important because as we focus on research and on training at the Faculty of Medicine and the rest of Tel Aviv University, we realize that we really need to educate a generation of health professions that's going to be able to integrate the new technologies, the AI, the machine learning, to be able to bring all of these, to tie them into very compassionate, empathic care for the patients. And there's no place that it's more important in dealing with a really difficult disease like Parkinson's disease. So I want to thank you, the family, from the bottom of my heart for all that you've done and what you will do. The support for the past 4 years has been remarkable, and I know will be continuing. I want to thank American Friends of Tel Aviv University, because you have just been remarkable in helping orchestrate and bring this all together so that we work so well together. I want to thank all the labs, the scholars, the scientists, the clinicians, the students. I want to thank also Karen Schatzman for putting together this event, Shirley Feifel Farkas, who is our wonderful MC, and really all of you for being here today and sharing this celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Avraham. In the relatively short time since the Aufzien Center opened, it has achieved remarkable accomplishments, as you will see in the following video.
The Aufzien Center is an interdisciplinary center for studying Parkinson's disease.
In collaboration with researchers and clinicians at affiliated hospitals to work together to tackle the question, the challenges that patients with Parkinson's disease have.
We can collaborate with Tel Aviv University thanks to the Aufzien Center and to bring both worlds together.
We are fully oriented to patients. We are trying to understand the disease, and we are trying to develop treatments and modalities that will affect patients' quality of life.
And training the next generation of researchers and clinicians, that's really the strength of the Aufzien Family Center for the Prevention and Treatment of Parkinson's disease.
About 4 years ago, when we first opened the Aufzien Center in Tel Aviv Medical Center, we couldn't realize how much this center will change the research in regards to Parkinson's disease.
I think Tel Aviv University became one of the leading research center in the world for Parkinson's disease.
This is the money time. Everything is changing. Everyone understands how important Parkinson's disease is. So much money and interest and industry are all tuned to find a cure.
Definitely, there are new horizons that we are working on right now to discover and to find new treatments and new ways to intervene.
We are giving now special genetic molecules that can really block the bad gene.
We developed nanoparticles that are released from the stem cells, and we give them as a spray into the nose. They go directly into the brain, to the specific area, and we show that they can be very effective.
We have, for example, studied the effect of virtual reality on Parkinson patients, demonstrating if you are doing this kind of training, you decrease the risk of falls of people with Parkinson's disease by 40%.
We collaborate with other labs all over the world.
We are a center of excellence of the American National Parkinson Foundation. We are a very big and very important center in the Michael J. Fox Foundation that's working hard to cure Parkinson's disease.
The Aufzien family and the Aufzien Center basically created a breakthrough in the way we study Parkinson in Israel. It combined unique teams, unique researchers, unique know-how, and basically changed the way we study Parkinson.
The Aufzien family has provided enormous resources that we wouldn't have been able to dream of tackling the challenges and the questions that we have without this really outstanding support.
Our next speaker is Professor Nir Giladi from the Faculty of Medicine and Tel Aviv Sourasky Medical Center. He is co-founder and current director of the Aufzien Family Center for the Prevention and Treatment of Parkinson disease.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor and pleasure to be here today and discuss 4 years and more of experience since the establishment of the Aufzien Family Center for Prevention and Treatment of Parkinson's disease. These have been amazing 4 years, but I think it all started with Professor Avraham, who called me in, and I think her vision to combine the most advanced research at the Tau campus and Tel Aviv University campus with the medical centers that are around us, around the campus, was pioneered. And I think this was a proof of concept that since you have become the dean of the Faculty of Medicine, you are now trying to get this idea and expand it to a much larger scope with other diseases, with other hospitals. But I think it was a real visionary idea to bring together basic research, clinicians, patients, and see that we are all aiming for the one target. And so thank you for making it happen. It's been an amazing 4 years targeting Parkinson's disease, enhancing research, education, and collaboration, aiming for better understanding, preventing, diagnosing, and treating a very difficult disease that the Aufzien family knows how bad it is. So we believe it's not just to treat the disease, but this is why we, right from the beginning, said we want to prevent it altogether. This was 4 years ago. We were younger and we were dreaming. We didn't know how far we will get after 4 years. And it's really amazing what we can summarize now of 4 years of intensive activities focusing on one disease. So many laboratories in the Tel Aviv campus have moved, and in other hospitals affiliated with the campus, moved into Parkinson research. And I think this is probably the biggest achievement of this center, that we really brought many researchers who have never thought that they will study Parkinson's disease to get into this amazing disease that needs so much help to prevent. We've held 3 international conferences, people from all over the world. Just to remind us all, in 2019, we didn't know that in March 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic will appear. So the first 3 years of this center were under this pandemic with all its restrictions. We are holding a monthly seminar bringing the best researchers from all over the world to share with us ideas, thoughts, plans, data about how to study Parkinson's disease. We have given 14 full grants and 11 seed money grants to laboratories who have never studied Parkinson's disease, and based on those seed money grants have started to look into this disease. We have supported 24 PhD or postdoc fellowships in campus, given 11 travel grants and 4 national prizes. We are proud that the Aufzien Center is focusing on enhancing research in Tel Aviv University, but are also trying to promote Parkinson at the national level, and I'll show you also at the international level as well. We have supported 5 infrastructure grants, 2 consortiums. When we discussed the consortium, we thought that we should bring together people from different disciplines to work together. Just as an example, we put stress and Parkinson together and tried to bring people from different areas to look at this relationship between stress and the disease, or how to study the basic cellular level of Parkinson using modern technology of brain on chip. We believe that industry is our partners. So we have established a school where we bring people who work in the industry to study about Parkinson, study about the current research, the unmet needs, and we believe they are ambassadors in industry, and we are promoting this kind of collaboration with industry altogether. And we are aiming for the entire population of Israel and hopefully worldwide, trying to detect people who are at risk to develop Parkinson. The first circle is those who have family members with Parkinson. So we want to prevent Parkinson in people at risk. But above all our activities, I think groundbreaking science is the main aim of this center, studying the basic mechanism responsible for the disease itself, uncovering new targets for preventing and curing Parkinson, developing new modes of treatments, as we've just heard in the video by Professor Danny Offen, spraying directly to the brain molecules that may be preventing the disease altogether, studying the genetic role of Parkinson, using the unique population in Israel of Ashkenazi Jews who have genes that are increasing their risk to develop the disease, studying sleep and all that comes with it, and we will hear Professor Yuval Nir discuss it in a few minutes, using neurofeedback to stop tremor, trying to make the brain learn how to stop symptoms without medications, using music to improve motor function, or virtual technology to prevent falls. So it's far beyond the very basic cellular level or the genetic level. We are really covering nowadays, after four years, a huge scope of different projects aiming to treat a very complex disorder that, as we study the disease, we understand how complex it is to tackle. Just the international congresses, we held one shortly after the center was established. Here you see at the middle Susan Bressman, the neurologist of UMAM. And just recently, 2 months ago, we've held here in Israel a symposium where we brought 50 key opinion leaders from all over the world to discuss gait, falls, and freezing of gait, one of the most difficult symptoms in Parkinson, supported by the center. So we are really looking at ourselves as a promoter for collaboration and discussion at the global level. We are very proud of bringing together not just the physicians and the neuroscientists, but also the patients, the Parkinson Association of Israel, and the industry. And now we have supported 4 annual meetings where we're calling it the brainstorming, bringing people to 2 or 3 days, sitting together and discussing ideas and sharing information and we really see how this collaboration push the field forward. It is now becoming part of the culture of the Parkinson in Israel. The annual Israel Parkinson Congress that was actually established by the Aufzien Center, where we bring patients, family members, students, physicians, allied health professions, and industry to work together a whole day, sharing information and focusing on quality of life of families with Parkinson's disease. It's now becoming a real event that patients and researchers are looking forward on a yearly basis. We also thought that the Aufzien Center should reflect on the entire effort that Israel as a nation is putting to prevent Parkinson's disease, and we have established the Aufzien prizes that we will give in a few minutes to the 2023 researchers. So this is another way for us to promote and to strengthen Parkinson research at the national level. As I said, one of our main aims is to prevent Parkinson. In order to prevent Parkinson, that a disease that starts 20 years before we are diagnosing it, we have to find those people at risk and intervene as early as possible. So we have established the Israel Prodromal Parkinson Initiative. It's a national initiative where we're trying to detect people at risk. We are working now closely with the 4 HMOs in Israel, and we believe this is a unique opportunity to join forces and detect people who have no idea that their Parkinson starts as early as possible, and hopefully to intervene as early as possible to protect them from this disease. The website that, where they have self-registration is open, and we are collaborating with the Weizmann Institute through the 10K project to detect subjects at a very early stage in order to apply potential protective interventions. At the international level, we are now developing a collaboration with one of the leading centers in Europe studying Parkinson's disease in northern Italy, and laboratories from Tel Aviv University and from the URAC in Italy are establishing collaborative efforts. So this has been 4 amazing years. We have reached a point that we never, when we established the center, we didn't think that we will stand here today and be so proud of what has been achieved already. But we are looking forward to the next 5 years, developing new treatments, understanding the basic mechanism of Parkinson, and based on that, targeting into new areas, striving for earlier and more accurate diagnosis, promoting prevention approach in subject at risk, developing personalized approach, because this is one disease with one name, but many faces. Every patient is different than the other. We must go into the personalized approach, and we believe that we should establish here in Israel a phase 1 clinical research center, because it's a really unique place where new technologies can be tested at a very early stage. So the sky is not the limit anymore, especially with your amazing support. So thank you for this unbelievable, amazing, and important support that really made us targeting this terrible disease, hopefully bringing some cure earlier, as early as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Giladi. Our next speaker, Professor Noah Shenkar, could not be here as she's attending a conference. She's from the Faculty of Life Science, but she recorded a message for us from a personal point of view.
Hi, Shalom. My name is Noah Shenkar, and I'm a professor of marine biology here at Tel Aviv University. You probably ask yourself, why is there a marine biologist in this video? And this is often the reaction I receive from my friends when they see me in conferences that are related to Parkinson. They don't understand what I'm doing there. I go to these conferences because nearly 3 years ago, my dear husband, Dror, was diagnosed with the early stages of Parkinson's disease at the age of 45. This diagnosis came as a real shock to us, to the family, to our friends. And this is actually when I got to know about the Aufzien Center for the Prevention and Treatment of Parkinson's disease. I find this center as a wonderful resource for being constantly updated with the breakthroughs, with the outreach lectures, with conferences, and also it gathers together all the researchers that study Parkinson under one roof. Being diagnosed with Parkinson at a young stage is very difficult. It is exactly at the stage that my husband was in this peak of his career, with 3 children at home, and also we had to cope with a lot of ignorance from even friends that don't know that Parkinson can be diagnosed at such stage. Usually they relate this disease to older people, and even in the conferences that I attended here at the Museum of Natural History, I remember that they showed this statue of an old woman being diagnosed with Parkinson and this illustration of a very old shaking person. And this is not how Parkinson looks in my life. So when I got to know the center, it also gave me an opportunity to interact with the students and to give them a face of the people that are waiting for the exciting results of their research. If an experiment didn't work out, I want them to know, I am waiting for your results. We really want to know what is going on and how we can prevent and have better treatments for this disease. So far, we don't have any cure for Parkinson's disease. So we want to know exactly what are the most advanced, exciting findings that we can do now, because we have so many years, I hope, to live with Parkinson's disease. So next time an experiment fails and you need to put it up again, just remember, the Shenkar family is waiting for your results.
To tell us more about the groundbreaking research done at the Aufzien Center, I would like to invite Professor Yuval Nir from the Faculty of Medicine, who will talk about sleep and Parkinson's turning a challenge into opportunity.
Hi, everyone. It's my honor and privilege to be here. I'd like to thank the family and also Professors Keren Avraham and Mir Giladi, who really brought me into this new world of Parkinson research. I'm a sleep investigator, and I think in the last few years, we've really changed how we think about sleep. For many, many years, we thought about it as a world of nothingness, right? We put our computer, our laptop in sleep mode when we fly, or we may put our dog to sleep if needed. It's like a world of nothingness. And now we realize in the last few years that sleep is essential for health, for supporting immunity, for supporting learning and memory, and for flushing out wastes from the brain, like misfolded proteins, like alpha-synuclein, and in other neurodegenerative disorders. When we study sleep, we usually look at the EEG. We use electrodes that are pasted on the scalp, and these help us. I don't know why these slides are. They have their own will to jump forward. I'll try to tame them. But here, when people are awake or asleep at different stages of sleep, their brain activity changes dramatically. So on the top here, you can see typical brain activity during 10 or 20 seconds when a person is awake. It's flat and it's chaotic. It changes very quickly. But as we enter deeper stages of sleep, we see these slow waves. And after about an hour or so of sleep, we enter what is called rapid eye movement or REM sleep, where we experience vivid dreams and our brain is highly active, but actually our skeletal muscles are largely paralyzed. So apart from the muscles that control our eye movements and our breathing, we are paralyzed. And this is a healthy situation when we dream during sleep, so that we will not enact our dreams and endanger ourselves and those around us. In the last few years, we've begun to realize that sleep is a very powerful and sensitive window into how healthy a person is and how healthy brain activity is. So for example, if I'll show you here, and the slides keep insisting on showing you the teasers, but you can see on the left is about 10 seconds of slow wave activity during deep sleep in a healthy elderly person. And on the right is another person, and without even performing statistical analysis, I think it's easy to appreciate that these two profiles are different. And indeed, on the left, we see this is brain activity during sleep of a healthy individual, and on the right is a person with dementia. In this case, it's PET imaging of amyloid beta in Alzheimer, but similar profile can be seen also with alpha-synuclein in Parkinson's and related dementias. So another thing we've come to realize, I think, as a community is the importance of the early stages or the prodromal stages of the disease. So as Professor Giladi shared with us, about 20 years before we see the motor symptoms that Parkinson's disease is most, let's say, recognized by. There are other symptoms that appear and give us a telltale sign that there is a chance that these individuals may eventually develop Parkinson's. And different signs could be, for example, include constipation or lack of smells for odors, and also a very particular disorder that happens during sleep, which is called REM sleep behavior disorder. It took me a while to realize how powerful and sensitive this marker is. So there are different signs, like if someone is losing their sense of smell or if they're having constipation, this may actually increase what we call the odds ratio, the chance that this individual will develop Parkinson by, let's say, twofold or threefold. But if an individual shows REM sleep behavior disorder, in other words, if they lose their normal paralysis during REM sleep and enact their dreams, then this gives us a 25-fold increase in the chance that this individual will develop Parkinson's or other alpha-synucleinopathies. So if a certain individual shows REM sleep behavior disorder, there's above 90 and even 95% that in the next 15 or 20 years, this individual will develop Parkinson's disease. And it's also quite specific. But only about 1/3 of the patients show this particular marker. But if we do see it, it's a very strong telltale sign that the disease is on its way. So the question is, what can we do with it? And we believe, with our colleagues at the Tel Aviv Medical Center, with a team of Professor Giladi and others, we've began to look at sleep in Parkinson patients in early stages of the disease with more resolution and with more detail to see what we can find. And in the PhD work of a very talented student, Sar Lanir, she recruited Parkinson patients that are just before they begin their drug treatment. So what they are what we call drug naive, to distill what changes in their sleep that's unrelated to the drug or medication that these individuals are receiving. And what Sal did is she trained these individuals on a motor learning task. So in the evening, they came into the lab and they had to learn a new motor sequence. It's like the game Guitar Hero, for any of you that may know this. So they need to memorize a certain sequence, like let's say 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 4. And then they go to sleep undisturbed and they wake up in the morning, and we see to what extent is this learning of the sequence, can it be transferred, to the other hand, to the other side, or to the other hemisphere of the brain. We know that in healthy individuals, sleep helps create and stabilize these motor memories. But what Saar observed, amazingly, is that here on the right, in the Parkinson patients, there was a very strong negative correlation between their learning and how much REM sleep they had. So in other words, what Saar found is that in patients, and only in patients, the more REM sleep one has, the worse they are in learning a motor task. Typically, REM sleep and sleep in general is very instrumental and helps learning. But in these individuals with Parkinson's, the more REM sleep they had, the worse they were off. So we developed this new hypothesis that perhaps REM sleep behavior disorder, or RBD, is only the tip of the iceberg. So 1/3 of individuals may show this disorder, but actually, most probably in other patients and also in individuals at risk, there are many more abnormalities during their REM sleep that only if we would look carefully enough at their brain activity during sleep, we will likely be able to reveal these abnormalities. And identifying the individuals that are on their way to developing the disease is an essential first step towards trying new treatments, because these are probably the individuals, if we come in early with new treatments, I think that's where we may have a chance to change or delay the course of the disease. So what we're doing now is we have a set of studies where we're bringing different subjects to the lab. We have them perform a learning task in the evening hours. I apologize for these slides doing their own thing. They go to undisturbed sleep, and we monitor their brain activity in detail with high-density EEG. And we're working with many different groups of individuals. Thanks to the generous support of the Aufzien Center, we can do these studies in healthy individuals, in Parkinson patients, either receiving drug treatments in more advanced stages, or those that are drug naive in early stages, and also in populations that have genetic mutations such as LARC or GBA that put them at risk to develop the disease. And this is in collaboration also with Professor Anat Mirelman, who's here with us today. And this is a very intense effort, a true collaboration between scientists and clinicians at the Tel Aviv Medical Center. For example, we have a PhD student, Vlad Zeleznyakov, who's here with us today. And he joined us from St. Petersburg, Russia. He's a neurologist to push this research forward together with Saar Lanir, Revital Hershkovitz, physicians, Jenny Zister and Rivi Tauman, sleep physicians, and of course, Professor Nir Giladi. And just to give you a glimpse of the results that we're starting to collect and analyze, this is what we call a hypnogram, or how the time course of sleep changes throughout the night. You can see periods of these black stripes and these red stripes over here. These are periods of deep non-REM sleep, or what we call slow wave sleep. And by contrast, these red lines here are episodes of REM sleep that typically show abnormalities in Parkinson's disease. And what we're beginning to see are two things. One is we already see nice replications of previous work that has been published in other places of the world. For example, on the left, patients compared to healthy individuals at the similar age show more minutes of being awake at night, what we call wakefulness after sleep onset, and also their sleep is less efficient. They spent a lower degree of, a lower proportion of the time asleep. But what our unique data is also starting to reveal are what these purple boxes, which are novel insights that have not been published or described yet. We can finally, for the first time, identify which changes in sleep relate to Parkinson's, to the disease, and which other changes relate to the drug treatment that these patients are receiving. In order to do that, we had to look for the first time at patients before they start receiving their drug treatment. So both the physicians and the patients have been extremely collaborative in coming to the sleep lab in the first few days after diagnosis before they receive their drug treatment. So just to give you a sense of where we're going with this, we're trying to take the research on sleep and Parkinson from a world of what we call sleep stages, which is how typically the physicians and the clinicians are looking at sleep, and we're trying to bring it to a more nuanced or high-resolution world where we're trying to look at specific events or oscillations, brain waves that are happening at specific frequencies, at specific times during the night, at specific locations on the scalp, reflecting different regions of the brain being engaged. And then we can take these features of activity, feed them to the latest machine learning modules of artificial intelligence to try and predict which individuals are on their way to developing Parkinson's and what profile of Parkinson will they develop, will it be, what will be the future projection of such disease. So this is where we're going with this type of research. So at the end, let me just share that I didn't know there was a New Jersey connection for the Aufzien Center. I also spent a few years growing up in Teaneck, New Jersey. So now I feel like I'm part of this Aufzien family officially. But more seriously, I'd like to echo what Professors Avraham and Giladi and Dan Pe'er shared with us. I think this center has really transformed how we do research on Parkinson's, and individuals like myself who were all about sleep but have never really studied Parkinson are now into this effort because of this support, and I think it's a source of much pride. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Nir. The next speaker is Shai Herman, a PhD student in Professor Danny Offen's laboratory and an Aufzien Center scholarship recipient who will talk about Parkinson's disease mechanism of progression.
Hello, everyone. So, like we said, my name is Shai Herman, and I recently finished my PhD in Danny's Offen Lab of Translational Neuroscience. And I will be presenting a little bit about the research that we have done in the past few years in the lab in the field of progression of Parkinson's disease. So just a few short introductions to make sure everyone is on the same page. Parkinson's disease is a progressive disease, and I highlighted progressive because this is important, and I want you to remember it throughout this lecture. So Parkinson's disease is caused by a loss of dopaminergic neurons in an area called substantia nigra, which is in charge of motor functions. Now, the death of these neurons is caused mainly because of an aggregation of a protein called alpha-synuclein. This protein is expressed mostly in neurons, and we don't know what causes it to aggregate in a pathological way, but once it does, it will lead to the neuron's death. When Brock and colleagues examined patients, they noticed that the alpha-synuclein pathology begins years earlier outside of the brain. This is like Professor Giladi has mentioned already before. So in the first few years, we see that the aggregations are outside of the brain. They're actually found mostly in the gut, in the olfactory tissues. And this is when we see the first symptoms, the autonomic and the olfactory symptoms. Years later, when the alpha-synuclein pathology migrates into the brain, we will start seeing the motor symptoms. And then still they will migrate, and eventually they will reach cortical areas in the brain. And this is when we will see the cognitive symptoms. So Brock hypothesized that the alpha-synuclein pathology actually starts outside in two primary locations, in the nose and in the gut. But how does pathological alpha-synuclein migrate all the way from outside of the brain inside into the brain throughout these years? So I've saved you a lot of reading. I've done this myself in the first few months of my PhD. And we found that one of the reasons that alpha-synuclein can migrate is through extracellular vesicles. Now, extracellular vesicles, or EVs in short, how we call them, are small vesicles. They're secreted by all cell types into body fluids like blood, saliva, urine, and cerebrospinal fluid. They have a very important role in cell-to-cell communication because they transport proteins, DNA, lipids to neighboring cells and even to faraway cells. They can migrate very long distances, and they can cross the blood-brain barrier and into the brain. And we know today that they are able to transmit aggregated proteins that are implicated in diseases such as Parkinson's disease. So all of this led us to want to understand how extracellular vesicles, specifically from Parkinson's disease patients, are able to spread these aggregations of alpha-synuclein in a healthy mouse model. So for our study, we collected cerebrospinal CSF fluid from patients. We had neurological controls and we had Parkinson's disease patients. And we chose CSF because this is a fluid that comes in close contact with the neurons in the brain. So we collected these samples and we isolated the extracellular vesicles from them. And then we treated young healthy mice by nose drops so that we can imitate Brock's hypothesis of a primary location outside of the brain, the nose. And we tested their behavior and pathology a few months later. So what we saw that when we looked at the mice, we saw that mice that were treated with the Parkinson's disease extracellular vesicles, when compared to the neurological controls, they had decreased motor abilities. We saw this on the Rotarod test. We saw that they had higher anxiety levels. We saw this in the open field test. And we saw that they had decreased sense of smell, which we saw in the food pellet test, similar to the prodromal symptoms we see in patients. When we looked inside their brains, you can see here in red, this is the dopaminergic neurons, the neurons that are expressing dopamine. And we saw that they had a substantial amount, less amount of neurons in the substantia nigra when compared to the controls. When we looked even further into these neurons, we could see pathological aggregations of alpha-synuclein. You can see them here with the green arrows in the neurons and also in supporting cells around. So to summarize, we saw that when we took extracellular vesicles from Parkinson's disease patients, specifically from their CSF, and we treated healthy mice, this helped to induce symptoms and pathology, which was similar to that we see in patients. And if you're wondering why is this even important, today we are only able to offer dopamine replacement treatments. In order for us to actually offer disease-modifying treatments and even be able to halt the disease in the first steps of it, we have to understand the propagating mechanism. If you would like to read more about our research, our manuscript was published in Brain Journal and was chosen by the editor-in-chief to star on the cover of the January issue. I would like to thank everyone who was taking part in this research and the Aufzien Center for their generous support, which helped fund this research.
Shai. Each year, the Aufzien Center awards 2 scientific prizes to honor major research discoveries. These prizes are awarded to investigators, one junior, one established, in recognition of the excellence and impact of their work in Parkinson's disease, based on their long-term contribution. I'm pleased to announce that this year's winner of the Junior Scientist Prize is Professor Aviv Metzer from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. I would like to invite Professor Nir Giladi to award the prize and say a few words.
So this year, established scientist prize is awarded to, This year's Aufzien Center Junior Scientific Prize is awarded to Professor Aviv Metzer from the Hebrew University for his significant contribution to research in the field and in particular the development of in vivo techniques that can provide a link between brain microstructure and dysfunction in Parkinson's disease. Professor Metzer developed cutting-edge quantitative MRI methods combining computational, biophysical, clinical, and anatomical knowledge. His innovative studies show a correlation between the degree of neurodegeneration measured by an MRI and the level of motor disability suffered by the patient, and therefore provide a link that can serve as a foundation for further research and treatment evaluation. So it's a real honor for us to give you, Aviv, this Junior Scientific Prize. Karen. Karen.
It is my honor to announce this year's Established Scientist Prize winner, Professor Jeffrey Hausdorff, from the Faculty of Medicine at Tel Aviv University and the Tel Aviv Soraski Medical Center. The award will be given by Professor Avraham.
So, Professor Hausdorff invented a novel system for the measurement and investigation of gait variability. His pioneering studies of motor cognitive interactions have had a profound impact on the field, and in particular, his seminal studies on freezing of gait in Parkinson's disease. His long-term contribution is evident in his development of novel approaches to the rehabilitation of gait, assessment and prediction of fall risk, and treatment of cognitive deficits in people with Parkinson's. Jeff, do you want to come up here? And I should add that there is probably no one more prolific in writing manuscripts, scientific papers, than Professor Hausdorff.
The remarkable activities of the Aufzien Family Center for the prevention and treatment of Parkinson's disease would not be possible without the ongoing tremendous support of the Aufzien family members. As a token to our appreciation, we now invite Lisa and Leslie to be awarded certificates of appreciation by Professor Karen Avraham.
Well, you each have one, okay? So, this is to witness that on the 15th of May, 2023, Tel Aviv University honored Lisa S. Aufzien in recognition of her ongoing generous support for the Aufzien Family Center for the prevention and treatment of Parkinson's disease. Significantly advanced basic and clinical understanding of Parkinson's disease, forged a community of expert scientists and clinicians to promote education, knowledge, and the development of novel drugs, therapies, and diagnostic technologies, and helped the Aufzien Family Center become a world leader.
Say ditto.
Yes, I'll just start with Tel Aviv University honors Leslie Levine in the recognition of ongoing generous support, and you can already follow the word. Thank you. And there's also certificates which will mail. And before I give Shirley the last word, I also want to thank Helen Berman, Alana Hassan, Sisam, and Rinat Zaslavsky for their ongoing support, as well as Shirley and Karen. This is really the team that together with Nir and I put together all of these activities, as well as everyone who's behind us here at Tel Aviv University to support us. And certainly I want to thank my partner in crime, Nir. You are an inspiration. The amounts of energy, the hours that Nir is willing to put in, not only to help work on his vision and plans for the center, but also taking care of patients at the same time. So I want to thank you. It has been remarkable working together, and I look forward to many more years together.
Thank you, Professor Abraham. I would like to thank everyone for coming and for sharing this important event. Thank you so much, the Aufzien family. Thank you, everyone that is here, everyone that had made this event possible. We appreciate it, and thank you so much for your ongoing support. Thanks, everyone.